Welcome, spicy lady. Have you ever sat in a crowded room, surrounded by people talking, laughing, and living in the moment while you were completely somewhere else? On the outside, you look perfectly calm, cool, collected, maybe a little distant, but on the inside, your mind is running a million miles an hour. You're analyzing the room, processing a conversation from 3 days ago, and planning your next 5 career moves all at the same time. If you identify as a spicy lady Sigma female, you know exactly what this feels like. People often think you're shy, detached, or even arrogant, but the truth is much simpler. You just live in your head way more than you live in the real world. And it's not because you're running away from reality, it's because your inner world is actually more interesting, safer, and a lot more productive than the noise outside. Let's talk about why this happens. Here are the 9 real everyday reasons why spicy lady Sigma females spend so much time in their own minds. Point 1. Your mind is a self-sustaining ecosystem. Most people need constant outside noise, TV, social media, or small talk to keep from getting bored. You don't. Your mind is packed with ideas, questions, and observations. You can sit in a quiet room for hours just thinking, and you won't feel lonely for a single second. Your brain is your favorite companion. A spicy lady Sigma female's mind operates as a completely self-sustaining ecosystem that requires zero external stimulation to thrive. While the vast majority of people constantly crave outside noise like television, social media scrolling, background music, or trivial small talk just to keep from getting bored, a spicy lady Sigma female operates on an entirely different frequency. She does not experience the itchy discomfort of silence or the frantic need to fill a quiet room with empty distractions. Instead, her inner world is a rich, dense, and deeply satisfying landscape packed to the brim with complex ideas, philosophical questions, creative concepts, and sharp everyday observations. Because her brain functions as a highly productive laboratory of thought, she can sit comfortably in an entirely quiet room for hours on end doing nothing but thinking, and she will not feel lonely for a single second. For the spicy lady Sigma female, her own brain is truly her favorite companion, providing an endless stream of intellectual entertainment and deep reflection that no social gathering or digital screen could ever replicate. This mental self-sufficiency means she is completely immune to the modern epidemic of boredom. While others panic when their phone battery dies, a spicy lady Sigma female welcomes the silence as a valuable opportunity to dive back into her thoughts. She uses these quiet blocks of time to unpack the events of her day, analyze human behavior she witnessed earlier, or quietly reverse engineer a complex problem she's been trying to solve. Her mind is a private sanctuary where she hosts internal debates, builds creative visions, and processes her emotions without needing a sounding board or validation from anyone else. This ability to be entirely fulfilled by her own consciousness makes her incredibly independent because she never relies on other people to keep her entertained, distracted, or emotionally stable. Her internal ecosystem generates its own energy, constantly recycling old information into new insights and turning quiet moments into powerful mental workshops. She is never truly alone because her thoughts are incredibly vivid, active, and engaging. She finds genuine joy in exploring the corners of her own mind, treating her intellect not just as a tool for work, but as a trusted partner she deeply respects. While society often views a quiet woman sitting by herself as someone who must be lonely, sad, or waiting for company, the spicy lady Sigma female is actually experiencing total mental freedom. She is completely content within her mental fortress, enjoying a level of peace that people who fear their own thoughts can never comprehend. Her self-sustaining mind ensures that she remains grounded, deeply self-aware, and entirely independent of the chaotic noise of the world outside her head. Point 2. You filter the world before you react to it. When something happens in real life, a lot of people react instantly. They yell, they cry, or they post about it online. As a spicy lady Sigma, your first instinct is to pull that information inward. You need to look at it from every angle, analyze why it happened, and figure out your stance before you say a word. Living in your head is your way of staying emotionally independent. A spicy lady Sigma female filters the entire world through her mind before she ever allows herself to react to it externally. When an unexpected situation happens in real life, a major crisis hits, or someone drops a massive piece of shocking news, the typical human reaction is to instantly burst outward. Most people will immediately yell, cry, vent, or pull out their phones to post about their raw emotions online for instant validation. But a spicy lady Sigma female operates under a completely different code of conduct, as her first and most powerful instinct is always to pull that raw information deep inward. She takes the chaotic events of the outside world and places them into a calm mental chamber where she can look at them from every single angle without anyone else watching. She feels an absolute necessity to analyze exactly why a situation happened, trace the underlying motivations of the people involved, and calculate the potential long-term consequences before she utters a single word or makes a visible move. Living so deeply inside her head is not a sign of hesitation or fear, but rather her chosen strategy for maintaining total emotional independence from her surroundings. By processing everything internally first, she completely protects herself from making impulsive mistakes, throwing emotional tantrums, or letting other people control her mood. She refuses to give the outside world the satisfaction of a knee-jerk reaction, preferring to show up only when she has a complete grasp on her own thoughts and feelings. This intense internal filtering process means she can look completely unbothered, blank, or detached on the outside, while a massive storm of strategic calculation is happening right behind her eyes that she's busy breaking down facts, separating truth from drama, and deciding exactly what her stance is going to be. She does not let the chaotic energy of other people leak into her personal space, using her mind as a powerful shield that filters out the useless noise and keeps only what is useful. For the spicy lady Sigma female, this practice of internal processing ensures that when she finally does choose to speak or take action, her response is incredibly precise, logical, and impossible to shake. She values the clarity of her own independent judgment far too much to let her emotions get hijacked by a fast-moving situation. While others might interpret her quiet stillness as compliance, confusion, or a lack of care, she is actually operating at peak efficiency inside her mind, mastering the situation before she even touches it. This deliberate delay between stimulus and response is where her ultimate power lies, transforming potentially messy real-life conflicts into clean, calculated victories. By living in her head during critical moments, the spicy lady Sigma female maintains absolute control over her own narrative, ensuring she is never a victim of circumstance, but always the deliberate author of her next move. Point 3. Real-world small talk drains your battery instantly. Let's be honest, standard social scripts are exhausting. Gossiping about coworkers, talking about the weather, or keeping up with superficial trends feels like a waste of energy. When you're stuck in those conversations, your brain naturally goes on autopilot. Your body stays in the room, but your mind leaves to go focus on things that actually matter to you. A spicy lady Sigma female finds that standard real-world small talk drains her personal energy battery almost instantly. Let's be completely honest about how the modern social landscape works. The vast majority of daily human interaction relies heavily on incredibly shallow and highly predictable conversational scripts. People spend hours gossiping about their coworkers, complaining endlessly about the weather, discussing trivial celebrity drama, or desperately trying to keep up with the latest superficial trends just to fit into a group. For a spicy lady Sigma female, forcing herself to participate in these superficial exchanges feels like an absolute waste of precious time and cognitive energy. She does not care about the meaningless details of people's lives who she barely knows, nor does she find any comfort in filling the air with empty words just to avoid an awkward silence. When she finds herself trapped in these kinds of uninspiring social settings, her brain naturally activates its own defense mechanism by going straight onto autopilot mode. Her physical body remains present in the room, nodding politely and making just enough eye contact to appear respectful, but her actual mind completely leaves the building to go focus entirely on things that truly matter to her. She retreats deep into her own head where she can ponder deep philosophical questions, analyze the hidden psychological motives of the people standing right in front of her, or quietly brainstorm her next big creative project. This mental departure is not done out of rudeness or malice, but out of a pure necessity to survive environments that offer absolutely zero intellectual substance. The spicy lady Sigma female possesses a mind that naturally craves depth, authenticity, and meaningful discovery, which makes the shallow waters of casual socializing feel incredibly suffocating and exhausting. While an extroverted person gets charged up by chatting with strangers, the spicy Lady Sigma female feels her vital life force actively slip away with every single minute she spends listening to mindless office politics or superficial pleasantries because she refuses to fake enthusiasm or play tedious social games. Living in her head becomes her ultimate escape hatch from the overwhelming boredom of mundane reality. It allows her to preserve her internal peace and keep her mental sharp-edged focus intact even when she is physically surrounded by chaotic noise and meaningless chatter. She would always rather be entirely alone with her complex thoughts than feel lonely in a crowded room full of people who only know how to talk about the surface of things. This deep-seated aversion to triviality means she is highly selective about where she goes and who she spends her time with, preferring the company of her own mind over 95% of the social interactions available to her, by retreating inward during shallow moments. The spicy Lady Sigma female protects her intellectual integrity and ensures that her internal world remains a high-quality sanctuary, completely untouched by the draining repetitive scripts of the ordinary world outside. This is hitting home for you right now. Take a second to hit that like button. It lets me know I'm speaking to the right crowd. Let's get back to the next point 4. You are constantly building your master plan. Spicy Lady Sigma females are intensely goal-oriented, but they don't advertise their moves. While other people are talking about what they want to do, you're quietly mapping out the exact steps to get it done. You're calculating budgets, predicting roadblocks, and refining your strategy. All of this heavy lifting happens in your head long, before anyone sees the real-world results that a spicy Lady Sigma female is constantly and quietly building her grand master plan entirely inside the boundaries of her own mind. While the ordinary world is filled with people who love to loudly advertise their every ambition, posting their goals on social media, or constantly talking about what they intend to achieve, the spicy Lady Sigma female operates in complete secrecy. She understands that true power lies in silent execution, which means she does not look for external applause or validation before she even takes her first step. Instead, she utilizes the quiet sanctuary of her thoughts to map out every single detail of her future ventures with absolute military precision. While she appears perfectly still, relaxed, or even completely detached to a casual observer, her brain is running massive amounts of data, quietly calculating financial budgets, predicting potential roadblocks, and refining her long-term strategy. She mentally reverse engineers her ultimate goals, breaking them down into small, highly manageable daily tasks long before anyone else ever witnesses a single real-world result. This intense level of internal preparation requires an immense amount of cognitive energy, which is exactly why she spends so much time living deeply inside her own head. She's busy playing out countless different scenarios in her mind, anticipating how her competitors might react, figuring out how to bypass bureaucratic hurdles, and ensuring that her foundation is completely bulletproof. The spicy Lady Sigma female treats her life like a highly complex game of chess, and she refuses to move a single physical piece until she has already played out the entire match 50 times over within her imagination. This brilliant strategic focus allows her to move through the real world with an incredible amount of quiet confidence and unshakable poise. When she finally decides to launch a new business, pivot her career, or make a massive lifestyle change, it often completely shocks the people around her because they never saw it coming. They assume her success happened overnight, completely unaware that she had been working out the intricate mechanics of that exact move inside her mind for months or even years. For the spicy Lady Sigma female, her thoughts are the ultimate drafting table where her reality is meticulously designed before it ever gets constructed in the physical world. She finds immense satisfaction in this secret process of mental creation, trusting her own sharp intellect far more than the unsolicited opinions or advice of outsiders. By keeping her plans safely locked away in her head, she protects her brilliant ideas from the cynical doubts, jealousy, and distracting noise of the ordinary crowd. Living in her mind is her way of keeping her focus completely pure, ensuring that when she finally steps out into the light to execute her vision, her victory is already practically guaranteed. Point 5. High standards make you hyper-selective. You don't just let anyone into your personal space. Because you look for deep, genuine connections, you spend a lot of time observing people from a distance. While you're watching how someone treats a waiter or how they handle stress, your brain is running a background check. Until someone proves they are safe and real, you stay securely inside your mental fortress. A spicy lady Sigma female maintains exceptionally high standards that make her hyper-selective about who she allows into her personal space, causing her to live deeply in her head during social interactions. While other people quickly jump into friendships or relationships based on superficial traits, convenience, or a fear of being alone, the spicy lady Sigma female takes a completely different approach. She understands that her energy is incredibly valuable and that letting the wrong person into her life can cause massive chaos, disruption, and emotional drain. Because she craves deep, genuine, and intensely authentic connections, she spends an immense amount of time quietly observing people from a distance before making any kind of move. While she is sitting in a room looking completely calm and detached, her brain is running a rigorous, highly detailed background check on every single person around her. She is paying close attention to the tiny, subtle details that most people completely miss, such as how a person treats a waiter, how they handle minor moments of frustration, or whether their words actually match their actions over time. All of this intense data collection and processing happens entirely within her mind, creating a protective buffer zone between herself and the rest of the world. Until someone proves without a shadow of a doubt that they are safe, emotionally mature, and completely real, the spicy lady Sigma female stays securely inside her mental fortress. This hyper-vigilant observation phase can make her appear cold, intimidating, or stuck up to outsiders who do not understand her process, but it is actually her way of protecting her peace. She refuses to lower her standards just to collect casual acquaintances, or to fit into a social circle that offers no real substance. Living in her head allows her to thoroughly vet people without exposing her own vulnerabilities or giving away her trust too easily. She evaluates potential friends and partners based on a strict internal checklist of integrity, intellect, and loyalty, weighing the pros and cons of every interaction before she decides to lower her guard. This careful mental screening process ensures that she avoids the endless drama, betrayal, and fake relationships that plague so many other people's lives. For the spicy lady Sigma female, her thoughts serve as a secure screening room where she can accurately assess a person's true character before granting them access to her private life. She would always rather remain completely alone in her head, enjoying her own thoughts and high-quality company, than compromise her values for the sake of shallow companionship. This absolute commitment to quality over quantity keeps her social circle incredibly small, but exceptionally strong. Why remaining deeply analytical and living inside her mind during social situations, the spicy lady Sigma female protects her emotional well-being and ensures that her inner world remains an exclusive sanctuary reserved only for those who are truly worthy of her time. Point 6. It's your ultimate safe space. A spicy lady Sigma female views her own mind as the ultimate safe space and an unshakable fortress against the outside world. The physical reality she has to navigate every single day can often be incredibly messy, chaotic, loud, and completely out of her personal control. She frequently has to deal with unpredictable environments, demanding workplaces, and emotionally draining people who do not understand her need for quiet autonomy. But the moment she retreats inside her own head, all of that external noise instantly vanishes, because within the boundaries of her thoughts, she is the one who sets the rules. When she experiences a deeply stressful day filled with frustrating interactions or exhausting social obligations, pulling back into her mind is never a sign of weakness, submission, or defeat. Instead, it is her primary method of survival and the exact way she recharges her internal battery. It serves as her highly private personal sanctuary, a secret room where she can process her emotions, heal her spirit, and restore her mental clarity without ever having to explain herself to a single soul. I end this internal domain. She does not have to put on a polite performance, wear a social mask, or justify her silence to anxious onlookers who mistake her quietness for anger or sadness. She can simply exist in her purest form, organizing her scattered thoughts and letting the stress of the day wash away at her own pace. While other people feel a desperate need to vent to friends, complain on social media, or seek immediate outside comfort when life gets tough, The spicy lady Sigma female relies entirely on her internal sanctuary. She knows that the world outside can be fickle, judgmental, and intensely overwhelming, which makes her mental safe space the only truly reliable constant in her life. Inside her thoughts, she can completely unpack the heavy emotional weight she carried throughout the day. Looking at her problems with cool logic and detaching herself from the drama of others, this beautiful internal ecosystem allows her to heal from psychological fatigue without needing validation, pity, or advice from the crowd. It is a place of absolute freedom where she can dream, reflect, and rest without any external interference or expectations. That'd be why living so deeply in her head during difficult times, she effectively builds an invisible shield around her well-being, ensuring that the chaos of the world never actually penetrates her core. She emerges from these quiet periods of mental retreat feeling completely grounded, centered, and fully prepared to face reality once again on her own terms. For the spicy lady Sigma female, this capacity to find total peace within herself is not an escape from reality, but rather the foundation of her immense psychological strength. It ensures she remains entirely self-reliant, using her mind as a beautiful, quiet home that she can always return to whenever the outside world becomes too loud to bear. By the way, if you've ever felt misunderstood for doing exactly what we're talking about, drop a comment below. I want to hear your story and subscribe if you haven't yet. Point 7. You read between the lines of every interaction. A spicy lady Sigma female reads between the lines of every single interaction she encounters, causing her to live deeply inside her head during daily life. The vast majority of people move through the world only paying attention to the surface level of conversations, taking words exactly at face value, and missing the rich layer of hidden communication happening right in front of them. A spicy lady Sigma female, however, possesses a highly analytical mind that naturally operates like a high-powered radar, picking up on the tiny, subtle human dynamics that others completely overlook. When she is engaged in a conversation, her brain is not just listening to the literal words being spoken, it is simultaneously executing a massive, real-time decoding process behind her eyes. She's paying intense attention to a sudden, slight shift in a person's tone of voice, a fleeting micro-expression that crosses their face for a split second, an unusual defensive posture, or a telling change in their usual text messaging habits. Because she constantly notices these hidden signals, her mind has to work absolute overtime to process all the incoming data and figure out what is truly going on beneath the polished surface. This deep level of psychological analysis forces her to live heavily in her thoughts as she is constantly translating the true motives, hidden agendas, and unspoken emotions of the people around her. While she sits quietly in a social gathering looking completely passive or detached, her intellect is actually incredibly busy solving a complex puzzle, separating authentic feelings from manufactured social performances. She uses this constant internal processing to protect herself from manipulation, fake friendships, and insincere flattery, trusting the cold data gathered by her observations far more than the pleasant words people use. This habit of deep reading makes it virtually impossible for anyone to deceive her, as she usually spots an inconsistency or a lie long before the other person even realizes they made a mistake, living so deeply in her head. To analyze these interactions is not a sign of social anxiety or paranoia, but rather her natural way of understanding human nature at a profound level. She craves genuine truth and clarity, which means she cannot help but dig beneath the superficial layers of daily life to find out what is real. This intense mental workload can be incredibly exhausting, which is why she frequently needs to step away from social environments to let her brain rest from all the constant decoding. That be why remaining an active observer who processes everything internally. The spicy lady Sigma female maintains an incredible psychological advantage in her personal and professional life. She always knows exactly where she stands with people, navigating complex social hierarchies with an unshakable sense of calm precision, because she has already figured out everyone's next move inside her mind. Point 8. You solve your own problems. When you face a crisis, your first instinct isn't to call a friend or vent on social media. You trust your own judgment above anyone else's. So, you take the problem upstairs into your mind. You break it down, weigh the pros and cons, and find the solution yourself. Living in your head is simply how you get things done. A spicy lady Sigma female completely solves her own problems by taking them deep into the quiet laboratory of her mind. When a sudden crisis hits, a major life obstacle appears, or an emotional storm rolls in, her first instinct is never to pick up the phone, call a friend, or vent her frustrations on social media for public sympathy. She possesses an incredibly strong sense of self-reliance and naturally trusts her own independent judgment above anyone else's opinions or advice. Because she refuses to burden others with her issues or expose her temporary vulnerabilities to the outside world, she takes the entire problem upstairs into her head to figure it out alone. She treats every setback not as an emotional tragedy, but as a highly complex puzzle that simply requires cool logic and strategic thinking to solve. Living deeply in her head during difficult times allows her to break the issue down into tiny manageable pieces, carefully separating the raw facts from her immediate emotional reactions. She spends hours conducting silent internal debates, thoroughly weighing every single pro and con, and running advanced mental simulations of every possible outcome before she ever takes action in reality. This intense level of internal processing is exactly how she maintains her legendary composure under pressure, as her mind acts as a stabilizing anchor while everything around her is spinning out of control. While other people are busy panicking, crying, or desperately looking for someone else to save them, the spicy lady Sigma female is quietly doing the heavy cognitive lifting required to pull herself out of the mud. She treats her intellect as her most reliable tool, knowing that she has the internal strength, resilience, and creativity to overcome whatever life throws at her. This solitary problem-solving process means she does not need a sounding board, an accountability partner, or outside validation to make a major life decision. She trusts the conclusion she reaches in the silence of her own mind far more than the noise of the crowd. This absolute mental independence can sometimes make her look distant, unbothered, or even completely cold to outsiders who do not understand her quiet strength. They assume she does not care about the problem, completely unaware that she is currently dedicating 100% of her brain power to fixing it behind the scenes. By living so deeply in her head during a crisis, she protects herself from the bad advice, panic, and negative energy of well-meaning but chaotic people. She emerges from her mental retreat with a crystal clear, bulletproof solution, executing her next move with absolute precision and unshakable confidence. For the spicy lady Sigma female, this beautiful ability to fix her own life within the quiet sanctuary of her thoughts is the absolute core of her personal power. It ensures that she remains the ultimate master of her own destiny, completely capable of surviving any storm without ever needing to rely on the unstable hands of the world outside her head. Point 9. You crave freedom over validation. Society loves to tell women how to look, act, and live. But because you don't care about fitting into a specific mold, you don't look outside for approval. You measure your success by your own standards. To do that, you have to stay deeply connected to your inner voice, tuning out the external noise to keep your independence intact. A spicy lady Sigma female craves absolute personal freedom over any form of external validation, which naturally forces her to live deeply inside her own mind rather than conforming to the real world. Modern society is completely obsessed with telling women exactly how they should look, how they should act, how they should speak, and what milestones they need to hit by a certain age to be considered successful. Most people spend their entire lives constantly looking outside of themselves for approval, desperately chasing likes on social media, running after empty corporate titles, or changing their natural personalities just to fit into a specific social circle. But because a spicy lady Sigma female is entirely missing the psychological need to fit in, she does not look to the crowd to tell her what she is worth. She measures her personal success, her happiness, and her moral character by her own strict internal standards and nobody else's. To do this successfully, she must stay deeply and continuously connected to her inner voice, which requires her to constantly tune out the immense external noise of the ordinary world. Living so heavily in her head is her chosen method for keeping her independence completely intact against the constant pressure to conform. Inside her thoughts, she can honestly evaluate what she actually wants out of life, free from the heavy weight of family expectations, cultural conditioning, or superficial societal trends. She refuses to play the exhausting games of social status or perform for the applause of people she does not even respect, preferring to focus her energy on her true passions and long-term goals. This absolute lack of interest in external validation can make her appear mysterious, distant, or even deeply confusing to the average person who relies on public approval to feel good about themselves. They cannot comprehend a woman who is completely content sitting alone with her thoughts, refusing to explain her choices or defend her lifestyle to anyone. But for the spicy Lady Sigma female, her mind is a private, sovereign territory where she makes her own laws, designs her own future, and stays entirely loyal to her authentic self. She understands that the moment you start caring too much about what other people think, you give away your power and become a prisoner of their opinions. By choosing to live inside her own head, she successfully builds an invisible shield around her mind that keeps her completely safe from the toxic envy, judgment, and superficiality of modern culture. She does not need the world to validate her choices because she already validates herself through her own logic, achievements, and deep self-awareness. This intense mental self-reliance gives her an incredible sense of peace and a quiet, unshakable strength that cannot be broken by criticism or isolation. She is entirely free because she answers only to the woman looking back at her in the mirror, by protecting her internal world and prioritizing her mental freedom above everything else. The spicy Lady Sigma female ensures that she remains the sole author of her life, completely unbothered by the superficial demands of the crowd outside, that we've all got that one friend who needs to hear this today. Share this video with them, leave a comment with your thoughts, and let's jump into how you can use this to your advantage. Therefore, she must never feel guilty for choosing to withdraw from the noise, never feel bad for choosing observation over mindless participation, and absolutely never apologize to anyone for aggressively protecting her inner peace. Her stillness is not a sign of emptiness. It is the ultimate expression of her self-contained power, a quiet storm of strategic calculation that allows her to navigate the world with an unmatched level of poise and confidence. While society continues to push the false narrative that a woman must be loud, highly visible, and constantly accessible to be considered successful or powerful, the spicy Lady Sigma female quietly proves that true strength does not scream. It observes. She stands as a solitary, unshakable pillar of independence, fully aware that her value is completely self-generated, and that her mind is a beautiful, self-sustaining ecosystem that needs absolutely nothing from the outside crowd to survive and thrive. By embracing this internal depth as her primary competitive advantage, she transforms what the world views as a social withdrawal into a brilliant masterclass in strategic living, quietly mastering her reality from behind her eyes, long before she ever takes a single physical action. She knows exactly who she is, what she is capable of achieving, and where she is going, and she will continue to use her quiet mind as the ultimate drafting table for her future victories, completely unbothered by the superficial demands of the ordinary world outside her head. For the spicy Lady Sigma female, living in her mind is not an escape from reality, but the very place where her reality is meticulously crafted, refined, and made bulletproof against the unpredictable winds of fate, ensuring that she remains the sole author of her destiny from beginning to end.